Dear Lily Queensland, guess what? I'm back at Dad's house now. I know it's crazy, right? I never thought I would return here, especially after everything that happened. Anyway, autumn is here again, a season that taught me that endings can be beautiful too. A year ago today, I was living in a stranger's house. They took me under their wing when I was broken and torn apart, wishing things had turned out differently in my life. I found myself trapped in my thoughts every day, unable to escape the chains of my past. I felt like I was sinking deeper and deeper into an abyss, but little did I know. I had to be broken to be rebuilt into something new, stronger and better. I would have never known my own strength if I hadn't gone through so much heartbreak with someone I once loved, who abused me in many ways, and then discarded me like a broken toy after a child is done playing. I learned firsthand that trauma bonds are very real, and I finally understood my parents' history, why they were so miserable with each other, yet stayed together until they couldn't anymore. My deeply wounded soul cried out for a savior, and I felt trapped in limbo until the answer to my prayers finally arrived. Emmanuel Siegfried, the one who changed everything in my life, who changed me. I'm grateful that my season of melancholy has ended, but now I find myself missing him so much that it hurts. He entered my life during the darkest period, like a knight in shining armor, freeing me from the dungeon of depression. For the first time, I truly understand what love looks and feels like because of him. He is an amazing listener who loves to surprise me at the most unexpected moments. He knows exactly what makes me giggle like a child and can make me laugh and cry simultaneously. He's that funny. Even if you combined the sun, stars, and moon, he would still outshine them all. Without him, I would have been lost in the dark forever. He perfectly embodies love, so how could I not fall passionately in love with him? I was so naive. I loved someone who only pretended to love me while secretly loathing me. For a long time, my heart experienced a deprivation of affection and basic kindness from others. Now that I am being treated the way I never knew I deserved, it feels like I am in heaven. I would have never appreciated an abundance of love and kindness until I experienced a lack of it altogether. Lily, what do you do when the man you love has been gone for much longer than you expected? Regret keeps echoing in my mind, reminding me that I should have hugged him longer at the airport before he left. It's been years since I last saw his face. He volunteered his time to help save families and animals affected by wars and natural disasters. He's truly heroic. If you had told me that I would be with my dream guy at the age of 24, I would have thought you were crazy. In the meantime, his princess is waiting patiently for his return, as she endures his temporary absence. I keep asking God to bring him back soon, and I also pray for the success of his mission. God hasn't answered yet, and I can't help but overthink my past losses and how I cannot afford to lose everything again. He is everything to me, and I'm afraid of losing him too. I wonder if this bittersweet season of waiting will have a happy ending. Or not. What do you think?
Content with her new journal entry, Lily saved it in her files under Letters for Future Me. She put her laptop away and wrapped herself in a fluffy blanket, along with her little furry companion, Winter, in the back of her customized van, which faced the glistening ocean. Her wavy auburn hair glowed in the sunlight as the wind caressed her rosy tear-stained cheeks. Her honey brown eyes stared at the pink sunset, and the smell of pumpkin spice latte enveloped her, instilling a deep sense of tranquility. Thorns pierced her heart whenever she thought of him.
If only you were here, we'd be playing in the ocean like we did when we were young.
She thought aloud, while gazing at the wide horizon. Nostalgic memories from her childhood began to play in her mind. She had met him when they were just 7 years old at his birthday celebration. Lily had been an unexpected guest, lost in her new neighborhood. She heard her favorite song playing on Psalm Street and followed it all the way to his house. While everyone else was preoccupied singing the happy birthday song, she slipped through the crowd unnoticed until her sweet little voice stood out. Everyone paused, wondering, who is this little muddy girl? She broke the ice by yelling,
"Happy birthday to me!"
Laughter erupted, and young Emmanuel fell in love with her then and there. He gazed at her smiling face as he blew out the candles, offering a beautiful prayer. Emmanuel vowed to himself that he would never change his 7th birthday wish, believing that one day it would come true. They grew up together as best friends. While his love for her deepened over the years, she remained oblivious to it. No matter where she went, he followed. They transferred to a high school abroad, where she fell for one of the football players, unaware that he was the campus' notorious playboy. She forgot about Emmanuel and pursued that toxic relationship, but he never gave up on her and continued waiting. She sought him only when she needed help, advice, or a shoulder to cry on. Little did she know that his heart also broke every time hers did. A year after her relationship ended, Lily fell into a deep depression. She not only lost the relationship she had invested so much in, but she also lost herself. At the brink of giving up on life, she cried out in despair from an abandoned building. It was then that Emmanuel, who had been searching for her, heard her desperate cries and rushed to her aid. Fate brought them back, together on a lonely autumn night. After helping her recover, he seized the opportunity to reveal his profound love for her. Her train of thought was interrupted by a loud bark. It was Winter, trying to get her attention. He wanted to play catch. However, she wasn't in the mood. Tears streamed down her face as she realized that if it hadn't been for him, she wouldn't have come this far in life. Winter dropped the ball from his mouth and snuggled up to her, familiar with the routine whenever he saw his human crying. After she calmed down, they decided to take a stroll along the seashore to collect more shells for her art project.
Come on, Winter, want to go play in the water?
Lily asked with a forced smile on her face. Winter wagged his tail excitedly and beat her to the ocean. He jumped into the water, making a huge splash. Lily smiled softly while recording him on her phone, then sent the video to Emmanuel, not expecting a reply. She had already left him 32 messages, and this was the 33rd. As stars began to spread across the sky, Emmanuel still hadn't replied. Weariness crept in, and she felt emotional again. Tired of crying, she picked up Winter's squeaky toy and played fetch with him to distract herself. After a few throws, she couldn't hold back any longer, and tears flowed down her cheeks like a river once more. Winter tilted his head, toy in mouth, and thought to himself, humans sure do cry a lot when they're sad, don't they? Suddenly, her message notification rang in her pocket, making her heart flutter. When she checked to see who it was from, her eyes widened, and her face lit up. She started jumping around in excitement, and Winter followed suit. Not quite understanding her sudden shift in emotion, but happy to see her smile again. She looked up to the sky, praising the Lord as she shouted, "Thank you, God." This time, she broke down in happy tears, raising her hands to the heavens, singing a short worship song. On her notification was a message from Match Made in Heaven that read,
I am finally coming back home to you, my love, and a big surprise awaits you. Are you ready? Meet me at the park. I can't wait to see your face again.
Lily checked herself in the mirror before leaving the van. She wore a black denim, button-down dress that reached her knees in sparkling black, Converse that glittered under the light like stars in the night sky. She put her hair up in a bun, applied some red lipstick, and curled her eyelashes. Then she turned around and asked Winter.
How do I look?
Winter replied happily with a bark. After placing Winter in his stroller, he was tired from all the splashing and jumping. She headed to the location specified in the message. The park looked magical at nighttime. The trees were adorned with lights that complemented the various colors of the autumn leaves. While taking in the breathtaking view, she paired the moment with some music. Playing on her phone was her favorite song, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, which had brought the two of them together the first time.
Hey!
A man shouted from behind who was wearing a black hoodie. Winter caught a familiar scent from afar that stirred his heart with rage. He tried to warn Lily by barking, but she was preoccupied with her music and didn't hear him. The man tapped her shoulder, startling her. Enthusiastically, she turned around with her arms wide open, expecting to welcome Emmanuel with a song she had been practicing while he was away. Her face fell when she saw who it was, her ex. A gust of wind blew, revealing his dark, disheveled hair beneath his hood. His eyes were deep pools of black, empty yet intense. He wore his usual black Air Forces and ripped gray jeans. She looked away, holding back from speaking to him. As usual, he launched into a speech attempting to lure her back, but she was wiser and stronger now.
I'm different now. Won't you give me another chance?
He pleaded. She scoffed as she remembered how it used to work on her many times in the past, but not anymore. Her heart had found the lover of her soul, her home. Rolling her eyes, she continued to walk away, leaving his ego bruised and his fantasy of an obsessed ex shattered. He tried to engage her in conversation again, saying,
Why are you all alone at the park at this hour? A bad person could come by at any time. You need to be careful.
She struggled to hold back her laughter, thinking to herself,
That's exactly why I'm trying to get away from you.
He didn't stop pestering her after receiving no response, attempting to provoke her into a reaction, so he could create drama and play the victim once more. Just as she was about to reach her breaking point, Emmanuel walked onto the scene and wrapped his arm around her. His face beamed with hope as he asked,
Would you care to be our witness?
Ha! This is the weirdo you replaced me with? What a downgrade.
Her ex belittled, though deep down he was insecure and envious of how he had been replaced by someone with model-like looks and a bold demeanor. Emmanuel ignored the insults and focused on Lily, who was still in shock. She was impressed by his unexpected yet perfect appearance. Her eyes locked onto him. His hair was as white as snow and his skin as fair as the moon. He looked radiant, but she wondered why he was so dressed up. He wore a classy tuxedo, a double-breasted white blazer with golden buttons and a golden bow tie. He knelt on one knee, pulled out a petite velvet red Pandora box, and asked,
Will you marry me?
People in the park noticed the romantic proposal and whipped out their phones to record, eagerly awaiting her response. But silence hung in the air, and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Is she okay? Lily was lost in his electric blue eyes, as if seeing them for the first time. She stood there like a mannequin, failing to realize she was being proposed to. Winter exchanged glances with Emmanuel, as if to ask, should I intervene? With a loud bark, Winter snapped her out of her reverie, breaking the awkward silence and bringing her back to reality. Lily finally noticed the beautiful diamond lotus ring in front of her, and her face began to turn bright red. Her ex snickered proudly and said,
Looks like you ain't getting the answer you wanted to hear, bruh. What a shit.
Emmanuel gently cut him off, saying,
Give it a second.
After a few more moments of silence, Lily shrieked at the top of her lungs, startling everyone in the park except her man, who had anticipated perfectly how she would react. She began to leap around like a child, adding more excitement to the engagement. In a deep, playful voice that mimicked Emmanuel whenever he won a game, she exclaimed,
Victory is mine.
Her ex looked at her with disgust, while Emmanuel's eyes glowed as he gazed at her with yearning and affection. Filled with envy, her ex sneered at Emmanuel.
Have fun with that crazy lady.
Yeah, you're never getting her back. She's all mine. Always has been.
Emmanuel proclaimed proudly. Lily launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. He lifted her by the waist and swayed her, their joy lighting up the park. A group of musicians practicing in the park began to play 1,000 Years by Christina Puri for them. As the music filled the air, all their pain, trauma, and worries began to fade away, leaving just the two of them in that moment. Locked in each other's gaze, they envisioned their future together. They leaned in for a kiss, but just then, a bright red autumn leaf fell right between their lips. Emmanuel and Lily burst into laughter, and she finally replied.
Yes.
A beautiful shade of blush rose on Emmanuel's cheeks as he sighed lovingly while gazing at her gorgeous smiling face, thinking to himself,
My prayer has finally come true.
it was the wish he made on his 7th birthday when he first met Lily,